Hi, Roger Knecht, President, Universal Accounting Center, and today I'm here with Andrew Argue, and I'm excited to announce that Universal Accounting Center is going to be working with Andrew to help you succeed, excel as you're building your practices, helping you focus on the things that he's an expert in, which is marketing and sales as to finding and retaining accounting clients. So Andrew, obviously I'd like to introduce everyone to you. Give us a little bit of background on what got you into accounting.
Well, basically, to be honest, if I'm talking all the way back to when I got into accounting, I was sitting in class and when I first saw, assets equals liability plus equity, bam, I was just like, that just some reason made sense to me and spoke to me.
It resonates with some people, yeah.
It does, yeah, and I had no idea about accounting, had no family members, no dad or nothing like that. I never even knew what accounting was until I took that first business class.
Okay.
From there I went on, got my bachelor's degree, master's degree, ended up working at PwC, one of the big 4 accounting firms. Did that for a few years, liked it, but knew I always wanted to work for myself.
Okay.
And so I sort of went out on my own, started my own business, and I sucked at it. Like I literally made $2,000 in my first 6 months on my own. Broke. That's like below the poverty line, right?
So in other words, you're not alone, okay? So there is that hard start, right? But keep going.
Yeah, I had no idea what I was doing because even though you go through college and university, like you really don't learn anything about business. You don't learn like how do you generate leads to talk to potential clients to work with you? How do you, sit across from someone to see, hey, are you interested in working with me? Let's talk about, does it make sense? Like you don't really learn any of that. So when you go out into the business world, even though you might have some of these accounting skills, like how do you really become a business person? And so that kind of sent me on a bit of a journey. And I spent a lot of time trying to figure out what is this, especially with things have changed in the economy. Cold calling, direct mail, it just doesn't really work in the same way that it used to. So that really sent me on this journey to try to figure out like what makes sense in today's day and age. And I ended up doing marketing and sales with a couple of larger accounting firms. Firms doing like $1 to $4 million a year in sales, one-on-one. To be honest, they kind of taught me just as much as I was like teaching and helping them. We were kind of figuring it out together. And after a while of doing that, I got requests from a lot of smaller firms, people doing $5,000 a month, people doing $10,000 a month, $15,000 a month, saying, hey, can you help me out too?
To take that next step.
Exactly, take that next step and really start building and growing the business. Like just because they've got the skills as an accountant, like you can be an accountant, but how do you really become more of a business person, more of an entrepreneur? Like focus more on growth, sales, and marketing, because that's really what separates. Like a lot of people know accounting, but that doesn't mean they're going to have a big practice. It doesn't mean they're going to have a profitable practice. You really have to become a business person. So really, after working with the large firms, that's when I kind of got into working with the smaller firms, focused on marketing and sales. That's all I do. And so we do a variety of training programs just helping accountants grow the practice.
Well, let me just kind of interject there. There are a few things that you shared at the very beginning that I think are key. First of all, many people, when they start into the accounting profession, it's through a training, it's through a school. They may have a degree. But the important part of this is you've learned the skills of accounting. You've learned debits and credits. You can do the financials. But the thing that you've missed, the classes that oftentimes you're not exposed to, is the business classes of sales and marketing. Really, in reality, even though we're perhaps perceived as being introverted and we're the proverbial stereotypical quiet person, accounting is in fact still a business where it's a people business. You have to get out and meet business owners. You have to interact with them. They have to be able to trust you and like what you're being able to do. So what you're talking about is that evolution of you like the skill set, you like the profession, but you recognized all of a sudden that to succeed, you have to work with business owners and you've got to market a certain way.
Exactly, and one of the things I found, and I talk about this all the time, like the number of people that you meet with every single week, potential clients, business owners, the number of people you meet with every week is the #1 predictor of how much money you're going to make in your practice. And so most people, they do want to, especially nowadays, a lot of people work from home. You have this desire to just sort of sit behind your desk, do your work, focus on your existing clients that you have, but you really have to pick your head up and start thinking, okay, how can I get in touch with people? How many people am I talking to? Because we're helping people with their accounting, helping them understand their business. But if you think about your practice, like the #1 KPI is how many people have I talked to in the last 7 days that could potentially be a client of mine. That is the #1 most important thing. It's also the thing that most people give the least amount of attention to. I find that kind of ironic because you think of a normal income statement. You got sales, expenses, profits. Sales is at the top. It doesn't mean that as accountants we have to spend all of our time on sales, but it does have to be the #1 priority. I mean, without sales, without a sales process, without a mechanism for growing the practice, you really don't have a business. You kind of just have a hobby. Yeah. And so really that's been most of what we've been working on.
Well, let me just kind of elaborate on this. One of the things that I think is key is when you have this passion for accounting, you enjoy it, you're good at it, you have a sixth sense for it, that's great. But when you're not doing the work for a client, the proverbial old-fashioned billable hours. What I want to stress then is that you need to then be out marketing and acquiring new clients. Not until you're able to fill your day with all the work that you're doing for your clients and interacting with them should you then ever stop marketing. In fact, it should be argued that you're always going to be in a marketing status, right? You're always going to be trying to find the next new client.
Yeah, I mean, you have to keep the pipeline going. Like, everybody that's in the accounting industry can do accounting. Like, that's what you went to school for. Maybe that's what you worked with Universal for. But what really separates people that do okay, make $50,000 a year, $100,000 a year, and the people that really start to step up their game, have a $300,000, $500,000, $1 million practice, is that they're not just focused on the accounting. If you wanted to just be focused on the accounting, you could just get a job at BDO.
Yeah.
But if you're out trying to build your own practice, it's because you want to become an entrepreneur. And look, I get it. Like, sometimes it's not normal, it's not natural. There's things that feel uncomfortable. Oh, I don't want to be salesy. Oh, I don't want to be weird. I totally get that. I was in that exact same boat. And there's ways to do it without being salesy or weird and aggressive. There's ways to just sit across from someone and say, hey, look, does it make sense for us to work together? And if they're ready, how do we take the next step? How do we ask for payment without being aggressive? How do we set the expectations with a client? How do we make sure we're getting the maximum possible fee without them sort of wishing that they were always paying less? There's all these sorts of questions around how to run the business that are just so under-focused on for most people that are running their own practice.
One of the things I can share is this. When you're building your practice, as you're working with these business owners, you have to understand that they have a need. They're looking to get the bookkeeping, the accounting, the tax taken care of so that they can focus on what they do well, that they're good at. So they're looking at you as being a solution, a help to them being able to succeed in their own world. So what we're trying to do is get you to be as comfortable, as natural, taking what you're passionate about to them in a way that they can see that they're able to now take that stress, that burden that they're having, and give it to you because you're going to embrace it. You're going to take it anyways. And so Universal, we're excited to take advantage of this opportunity for you, our graduates, our students, to actually then work with Andrew. And as you work with him, you'll be able to excel as you're building your practice and taking it from this startup, get-going, initial client base to then really launching it to a very large, substantial, profitable practice. And so we're excited to see this transition. Essentially what you're going to be looking at doing is evolving from that of the Universal Practice Builder and the correlating programs into a program with Andrew Argue, and that's something we're excited about. So you're getting to know about it here, and I'm excited to see you move forward. Take advantage of this opportunity to not only just move forward with Universal, but also contact us so that we can introduce you to Andrew and get you started into the training that he offers to ensure your success. So with that in mind, is there anything last that you'd like to say?
Yeah, if you're interested, really some of the stuff that we cover is, how to pick a niche. Like, how do you figure out what type of business owner are you really going to be best fitted to serve and to make sure you can get the biggest price. So another thing we talk about too is how to set pricing. How do you, with the business owner, how do you sit across from them and understand what are the real problems in the business? If they're doing their own accounting or if they've got an existing team, why is it not working? What are the problems and what are the costs of those problems? Getting them to understand that, so when they weigh that against your price, it starts to make sense. It starts to become more of a no-brainer. We talk a lot about that, how to set pricing. How to run the whole consultation. Like, how do you sit across from them without being weird, salesy, or aggressive and get them to understand what it is that we're engaged to do, why the price makes sense, how to ask for payment and take the next step. And then we also talk about lead generation. Like, today things are totally different. When was the last time you picked up something from the mail and bought something? When was the last time you answered a cold call and bought something? It just doesn't really work in the way that it used to in the accounting profession. So there's new methods of lead generation that we're using to get consistent appointments and fill the pipeline week in and week out. So if those are things that you feel like you're missing out on in your practice, you should definitely reach out.
Exactly. Andrew complements very well what we teach at Universal Accounting Center. Those very techniques that we teach to find and retain clients, Andrew's able to take those and enhance them with very timely and proven marketing strategies, because right now, as you know, the world is changing. Marketing is different than it was 1 year, 3 years, 5 years ago. There are other things out there that are sexy and intriguing and effective in getting clients. And Andrew's going to help you take that journey to go out there and do the things that you need to ensure that you're finding the clients, getting the clients, retaining the clients that you need, and doing the work that you were ultimately hoping to do. So with that in mind, remember this: if it's about accounting, it is Universal.
Thanks, guys.